I'm Psychic Type Magic Mike, and this is I Thought a Think, number 1. Okay, so I'm a big fan of the X-Men franchise. Not specifically the movie franchise, the X-Men as they are. I grew up watching the Saturday morning cartoon. They were the first kind of big comic book series that I got into, Joss Whedon and his astonishing X-Men. So I love the X-Men. They're very near and dear to my heart. And as such, the X-Men movies have been a bit underwhelming. And so I was talking about this one day with my friend Tim, and he goes, well, Michael, if you were in charge of doing the whole X-Men thing, like if they were Michael's X-Men movies, how would you do the X-Men movies? You want to know how I do the X-Men movies? Because, like, it'll be a thing, but I'll get into it. So, like, buckle yourself in, man. And this is pretty much what I told him for how I would do the first movie of the X-Men. So, there's an underlying theme with the X-Men, and it's 2 words. Hated and feared. Hated and feared. It's that simple. It's like the one defining mantra of the X-Men. They fight for a world that hates and fears them. Alright, and I haven't gotten that feeling from the X-Men movie franchise a whole lot. Yeah, there's that little bit in X2 where Bobby's family calls the cops on him because he comes out to them as a mutant, but blah blah blah. It hasn't been a central theme, I feel, of the X-Men movie franchise. And feel free to go in and like, oh no, but they put in these little lines here and these little lines there, but you don't feel it. At least I haven't felt it. So, hated and feared is the big defining aspect of the X-Men. And in order to do hated and feared right in the first movie, there's really no better way, in my mind, than with the Purifiers. Okay, so the Purifiers are a religious fanaticist group led by one Reverend William Stryker, a mad televangelist who's preaching mutant hate speech every week on his show. And as such, he's whipping people up into frenzies against mutants, helping them to believe that mutants are a sin against nature, that they're aberrations, abominations in the eyes of God, and that they should be purified. And so a whole bunch of acts of violence start erupting against mutants in the streets, completely unprovoked, for the sheer fact that, hey, he's a mutant, he's different, and because he's different, that must make him evil. Now, Charles Xavier hasn't come out of the closet as a mutant yet. He's still just a kind of rich guy in Westchester, New York, with a big family estate. And he sees everything that's happening, and he is very pro-mutant rights. He's a very vocal pro-mutant rights activist, preaching for equality among all men, all people, all walks of life. And he sees this violence that's erupting in the streets towards mutants, and he opens up his house to mutant youths who have nowhere else to go. They've been kicked out of their house by their families, you know, they're orphans, and the orphanages don't want to take care of them. You know, he essentially opens up a wayward home for mutant youths. Now, the world at large doesn't know he's a mutant. These mutant children don't know that he's a mutant when they're coming in, but you know, he comes out of the closet to these children. He explains, hey, I'm a mutant too. I kind of know what you've gone through, what you're going through. I've been through some crazy changes with my body that I don't really understand. But I'm here to help you guys come to terms with what's happening to you so that you aren't afraid of yourself. Because you shouldn't be afraid of yourself and what you can do. That's kind of like the underlying great golden message of this, is that we're all beautiful and unique, and that because you're different, you shouldn't be afraid of that. So he's got these 5 kids. A Scott Summers, a Jean Grey, Hank McCoy, Warren Worthington, Bobby Drake. And he's got these 5 kids, and come on guys, we can use the original team of X-Men because they've all been in the movies now by this point. We don't need to focus on, hey, these are the ones that were big and popular with the animated cartoon show. Like, we can actually just use X-Men. And so Xavier has these 5 kids. And the whole second act is kind of mostly about them learning to become a family that you choose and not a family that is given to you. So while all of that is happening, Stryker is still preaching his hate speech on the television, and it builds and it builds to a point where some pretty grotesque things are done in the name of purification. And Stryker doesn't outright claim responsibility, but there is that implication there. So Xavier, knowing that Reverend William Stryker is the one who's generating most of this sentiment of hatred toward mutant kind, he goes and he manages to convince Stryker to a live televised debate on whichever station about the merits of mutant kind, to which Stryker agrees, and Xavier's like, great. Stryker agrees to kind of get to his own ends, though, because he knows that Charles Xavier is a very vocal mutant advocate, and he knows that Xavier has this big empty mansion, and he knows that Xavier has got to be housing some mutants, hiding some mutants from the eyes of those who would judge them. And so he gets together his group of purifiers and he's like, alright, I'm going to have Xavier live, on air, and I'm going to kind of defraud him for what he is. And while I'm doing that, you're going to go to his mansion and you're going to deal with the muties that we know that mutie lover has got housed in his mansion. He's got to be, hiding some of them. So while the debate is going on, the purifiers storm the mansion. They burst in, they cut the power, the kids are kind of panicked at first, and then instinct sets in, and Jean Grey immediately links all of their minds together like she's seen Xavier do 1,000,000 billion times in the training sessions, just so that they're all on the same page. And now, with the speed of thought, they formulate this plan. Beast is tossing everybody out the windows. Bobby is making everybody slip around so that Beast can toss them out the windows for Warren to grab them. And Cyclops is sitting there, and he's kind of just protecting Jean, because Jean is using her psychic powers, and she's all not moving and stuff because she's still very unpracticed and doesn't really know what she's doing, so she's not moving a whole lot. So Cyclops is sitting there and just protecting her from any purifiers who may come in. And it's this really awesome sequence where the kids form together into a cohesive unit and they protect their home. And after they manage to protect their home and the squadron of, like 6 to 10 purifiers are dealt with, this is where things get interesting. Jean sends a mental message to Xavier to let him know exactly what just happened. And Xavier's like, oh really? That just happened. Okay, here's what I want you guys to do. Back to the debate. And at the debate, falling through the skylight is a purifier. And the purifier falls to the ground. And he's got a little note on him. And it says, Reverend Stryker, one of your men was lost. We brought him back home. And on the other side of the note is a picture of the five of them in their kind of unitard spandex, whatever you want to call it, school uniform that they wear during training sessions. They took the picture earlier, and it's just there, and it says from the X-Men. You know, the ending climax is kind of like a montage of Stryker being sent to prison for, you know, his hate crimes, the Purifiers being round up and sent to prison, you know, the X-Men kind of rebuilding some of the things that got broken with their powers, you know, using them because they're all, you know, now very confident and proud of who they've become. And it's this nice sentiment of, yes, even though the world does hate and fear them, they no longer carry that hatred and fear within themselves. And it's a fun way to kind of jump in to the X-Men at square one, starting from the beginning. So that was I Thought a Think, episode 1. Kind of a little scattered, kind of just throwing it out there because people wanted me to throw it out there. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe if you liked it, have something to say, or want to see more. I did originally conceive this as a 4-part series, so I might put episode 2 up sometime soon. Episode 2 has Magneto. But yeah, I'm Psychic Type Magic Mike. Thanks for watching.